It's David Ducker coming back at you, and today we're going to be talking about video games and RPGs. I've already done a video discussing video games versus RPGs. How are they different? What are the differences, the different tools, and why you should not confuse the two? This video will be about how are they the same? What are some lessons that we as role players can learn from video games? I did a poll on the OSG. I asked, what is your favorite video game to draw inspiration from for role playing? And what are the lessons that you learned from this game? And it was a very well received poll. I didn't get very many responses, actual text comments. What have you learned about being a player, being a GM, being a storyteller from watching what these other people have done digitally with their limited scope of tools? I didn't get a lot of response for that, but I did get a lot of games to look at to draw inspiration from, so I can talk about how you can learn and draw from them, as nobody else seemed to want to talk about it in the forum. So there were, I think, 3 or 4 main examples that came to mind, and that plays very highly on the polls as well. Number 1, Skyrim. What does Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls teach us about RPGs? Ambiance. You know, especially in Skyrim's predecessor, Oblivion, you had tremendous ambiance. You're coming into this cave, it's black, it's dark. You have a torch in your hand, or you have some kind of light spell, maybe a glowing shield. I think you can buy one of those somewhere in the game. And there's this tiny circle of torchlight. It's flickering off the walls, and the cave walls are all craggy and casting shadows about you. You know, or there are cobblestones, and you know, maybe there's a rock and it's casting a shadow. You don't know if it's, you know, somebody's foot or a tentacle or what is it, a trap that you might spring on yourself. There's just this great ambience. Walking around with a torch and a sword. Just, oh, what's around the corner? Is that a crag or a tunnel? Like, there's so much mystery and ambiance. And Skyrim really gets that across. Oblivion even better because it's darker and you have your own light source. Skyrim often has the dungeons light themselves, and that's a step backwards in my opinion, because you lose that ambiance. And that was like the best part of Oblivion in my mind. Another game that's great for ambiance, Shadow of the Colossus. And that one is not dark. There's this huge open world with nothing in it, but it manages to be haunting and beautiful. The wind is just howling, the sun is shining, the clouds are drifting. There are these immense Titan-reared monoliths standing there, the ruins of a bygone civilization, and you're riding through it, and it's all empty, and it's beautiful, but it's haunting. And they really got that ambiance down in Shadow of the Colossus. And when something does happen, you know, it makes it more special. But there's this feeling of isolation, even though the valley is really huge. So that's the number 1 thing, ambiance. You can learn that from video games. They're a more visual media than what we are. We need to verbally communicate the visual spectrum. So you always have to keep in mind, what would it really look like? And some video games show you what it would really look like. So go with those games. Number 2 was, I'm trying to think of the lesson and the game example. My example is like Golden Axe. But I believe the other example, let's come back to Shadow of the Colossus. And this one is, don't be afraid to make it big. Shadow of the Colossus makes it big. The boss battles are massive. There's only like, I think, 15 enemies in the whole game, and they're all giant colossi. Shadow of the Colossus, hence the name. And they're not afraid to make it 100 feet tall. They're not afraid to make it this swimming sea serpent, this soaring rock with 6 wings that you have to somehow get on its back, and it's flying around. You have to crawl through its feathers and get up to the weak point, the rune or the glyph that's keeping us animate. They were not afraid to give you a 50-foot minotaur to fight. There's so many tremendous examples, but it's that they're not afraid of scale. Don't be afraid to make it big, bombastic, cinematic. And Shadow of the Colossus isn't afraid to do that. And Golden Axe was not afraid to do that, because I can remember, I believe they had a mission on the back of a rock, and like it's so massive that you're just walking around, and its back is the whole level. So it's this massive, like 1,000-foot long bird, and I believe they had a city on the back of a giant tortoise, and it took you from area A to area B. In this roving city. It was just such a big scale. So don't be afraid to have that big scale in your role-playing game. I believe, God of War? I believe they have some really big, massive encounters, boss battles, environments that are exotic and appealing. So you can definitely look at video games and take that into your role-playing game and say, let's make it big, bombastic, superhero style. Next lesson, let the player's actions carry forward. And my example is Fable, because they do time skips. Fable 2, Fable 3. You do something, and then you time skip. And 10 years later, you get to see the impact of your choice on the world. So don't be afraid to do that in a role-playing game. There's no reason you can't do a 10-year time skip, a 50-year time skip, a 100-year time skip. You could do 4 100-year time skips in one campaign, and you've told the story of 400 years of this culture. Fable wasn't afraid to do it. You shouldn't be afraid to do it. The other example for that is Mass Effect, because you make all kinds of choices in the first game that affect the second game. And the third game, you can exterminate a species, and then they're not there to help you in the last game. You can kill an important clan leader, and then he's not there to oppose you in the third game. There's all kinds of stuff that carries forward that you can never predict. And in role-playing, you can do that, to a higher level, to an nth degree beyond that. And the last example, I'm going to come up with Ogre Battle. And that game teaches you, don't be afraid to put all of the options in the hands of your player. In Ogre Battle, you as a player customize everything. And in role-playing games, you can do that even more so. If you want to have 1 unit of troops fighting the enemy army, you can do that. Or if you want to have 50 units of troops fighting the enemy army, you can do that. What's the composition of your army? Do you have dragons? Do you have golems? Do you have archers? Do you have pikemen? Whatever you want, you can do that. And a lot of strategy games will teach you this as well. Give the player all the control. Let them make the world. Let them micromanage as much as they want to. In role-playing games, you can do that. Just like Ogre Battle, or just like Age of Empires, Age of Mythology, StarCraft, the micromanagement. Don't be afraid of it. Give your players power, and give their characters power as well. So those are my main video game lessons. Get the ambiance going on. Give the players power. Let their decisions carry forward. These are all things that you can learn from video games that you can take into your role-playing game experience and make it even better and even richer. So let me know in the comments below, what's your favorite video game to draw RPG experience from? And what lessons have you learned from these games as a player, as a GM, as a storyteller that have improved your role-playing game? The comments with you. And until I see you again, good day and good gaming.